I would like to invite up a group of rabbis who will tell you what inspires them, where they live in their connection with Israel. We thought it would be important for you to try to imagine how many of you have a relationship at all with a rabbi or clergy in your city? Good, okay, good. All right, so this is a moment that we can all hear from 4 wonderful rabbis who are part of our group, Rabbis United, and we want you to hear what makes them tick regarding Israel and the fight against anti-Semitism. Can you join me up here? Rabbis. So I'd like to ask you to each please introduce yourself and then give us a glimpse of what brought you to this moment. We know you love Israel, you're Zionist rabbis. What makes you feel like in your history, what's your story? Rabbi Dunner, would you go first? So introduce yourself and...
I'll introduce myself. Thank you so much, Roz. Thank you, Stand With Us, for this incredible event. And a special thank you to all the wonderful students who are here. You are just amazing. I have nothing but great admiration for you. Thank you. I come from a Haredi background, which wasn't particularly Zionistic, but my parents were both extremely supportive of Israel as I was growing up. I have 2, I'm going to say, memories that really trigger me with regard to my support for Israel. The first is that the Yom Kippur War broke out on Yom Kippur in October 1973. I was 3 years old, so I don't really remember it. But my father owned a hotel, a 5-star Glatt kosher hotel on the Dead Sea. And on Motzei Yom Kippur, we heard about the attack. I guess my father must have heard it on BBC. We're from London. And he went to the airport together with us, and we flew to the hotel and stayed there for Sukkot. I have vague memories of that. And there was nobody in the hotel besides for soldiers. It was on the Jordanian border. The second memory I have is coming to yeshiva in 1989 in the midst of the first Intifada and seeing cars that had been destroyed by rocks and seeing the enmity that existed between the Palestinians in refugee camps that were bordering Jerusalem at that time and the Israeli population, and the incredible fear that people had. And it was before anything like the Oslo Accords or many of the things that you've read about in history books. And I felt the tension. Even though I was in yeshiva, I felt the tension. I realized I may come from London, I may not live in Israel, but my heart and my soul are for Israel. And so it has remained all my life. I give everything I can, whatever I'm able to do, to support Israel and to make sure those who love Israel have all the support that they need.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, thank you, Roz. It's an honor to be up here with my colleagues. Thank you, everyone here from Stand With Us. One of my own congregants, Danny Horn, is here, and I'm kvelling as a rabbi. I'm from Long Island, Old Westbury Hebrew congregation in Old Westbury, on Old Westbury Road, very inventive with our name. Oh yes, we do a lot of weddings, that's true, Ram Caterers. Wow, okay, you'll have to come back. A couple of things. I'm a conservative rabbi. I was brought up in a conservative home. We were not Haredi, not particularly observant, although Judaism mattered to us, but we were a very Zionistic household. Israel was always very, very important. And I do remember my first trip to Israel in the summer of 1981. My parents dragged me. I was not yet 10 years old. Israel was a much different country back then. It was much younger. It was not the economic powerhouse that it is today. It was much more of a socialist economy. I remember getting off the plane and even thinking, well, will we take camels to the hotel? Like, how will it work? But it wasn't that far removed from that. And I remember my father, even, who was fluent in Yiddish, was able to get around a lot easier than me and my sisters were with our pidgin Hebrew from Hebrew school. But I do remember one thing, and at that time you can go to the Temple Mount. I'm embarrassed to say we even got keffiyehs and we took pictures wearing them in front of the Dome of the Rock. It wasn't a thing back then. But I remember going to the Western Wall, and I do remember, my father and me and my sisters and my mom being separated. But, we walked up to the wall, and my dad said, I want you to go up to the wall. I want to make sure you touch the rocks. And I'd heard about the wall. People called it the Wailing Wall back then. I don't think that term is quite as in vogue. And I turned around, because I was thinking, how long am I supposed to stand here touching these rocks? It's hot out, August sun. And my father was crying. Now, I had never seen my father cry before. Not in public, not in private. My father was a very stoic man, psychoanalyst, Vietnam vet. He didn't show his emotions openly. And I said, why are you crying? I don't understand. And he goes, this is all that's left. They've tried to destroy us so many times throughout history. And look, this is what we have. The holiest site in our tradition is a wall. And that really stirred something inside of me. And I do remember the night we left, it was right before my birthday, and my cousins in Israel said, it's almost midnight, you're going to be turning 10, here's a present for you. And they gave me a Magen David. The first one I've ever had, not the last, but the first one I've ever had. And I've been back to Israel, of course, plenty of times since then. I did, in college, volunteers for Israel. I studied for a semester at Tel Aviv University. I studied for a year when I was in rabbinical school. I went back last December with a group of rabbis from the conservative movement to tour around and go to Kibbutz Kfar Aza, see what was going on there. It was horrific, really. It was just bone-chilling. And I just want to say that for me, Judaism and Zionism is intertwined, now more than ever. I don't like to judge. That's not what I'm about. Roz, I think, did a great job saying people might have different political beliefs or even religious beliefs here. But I personally and professionally think that you cannot disassociate Judaism and Zionism. I don't feel you can be a Jew and be an anti-Zionist. Because all Zionism really means is the right to a Jewish homeland within the state of Israel. It doesn't mean we're warmongers. It doesn't mean we want an apartheid state. It doesn't mean we're not willing to seek peace or a two-state solution, but there has to be a Jewish state. And I feel we need it more than ever now. I think what we've gone through has, not just in history, but this past year and a half, has proven that. And I just want to say one last thing. I do like to travel the world, but I'm a tourist when I do. I go to different countries and go to see different things in certain sites that I've always heard about. When it comes to Israel, it's the only time I get off the plane and I feel like I'm home. And I could go to Israel so many different times. I go to certain countries and I've seen it, and now I want to go somewhere else, somewhere different. Israel, I want to keep going back to. And I go there and again, and I see places that have meaning to me and are special to me. But I also discover something new each and every time I go. And that's one of the things I always love about our homeland.
Thank you. Thank you. So, we do know that there are Jewish people who are anti-Zionist. So we're going to arrange for a meeting with you. You can address JVP. Kidding. Okay.
I'd be happy to. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Thank you, Roz, for introducing a rabbinic track to International Conference for the first time. I'm honored to be here with my rabbinic colleagues. And before this group of young people, and you may have heard this already, but I'm going to share with you that I hope you will, when you think of what you want to do professionally, consider being a rabbi, because you are a Zionist. And to be a Zionist has always been something courageous. And people talk a lot about the seichel of the Jewish people. but seichel without ometz, without courage, is useless. So please put that in your mind and consider it as you move forward. Growing up, I was just really into Hebrew school basketball, and that was about the extent of my connection to Jewish life in synagogue, aside from being a 3-day-a-year Jew. And then when I was a senior, Harvard Hillel took us to Israel for 6 days. And there were 2 things that I noticed when I was there that let me know that I was in a place that I had never been before. First of all, you're in the hotel, like a hotel we're in now, a mezuzah on every door. I remember looking down the hallway and seeing a mezuzah on every door in a hotel. A hotel is supposed to be a place where it's not your home, but there's a mezuzah there, and I just was flabbergasted. And then the second thing that struck me was when I was looking out, in the society at the street, and I saw the garbage truck pull up, I thought, Jewish garbage men. And both of these things are real.
Sanitation workers.
Yeah.
Sanitation workers. We have to take responsibility for all aspects of society in Israel. We can't just fit into one segment of society like we often do in the diaspora. And I just found that very moving. And almost that alone made me feel like I want to spend as much time in this place as I can.
Thank you.
So I'm going to say ditto. Thank you so much, Roz, for having us here. Thank you to my colleagues for sharing this stage. And I want to take just a moment for you to think not about our stories up here, but think about your story. Because really, as we are telling you our stories, we want you to think through where you are now, where you started, envision maybe where you're going. I have been thinking a lot since Purim is coming up about what Mordechai tells Esther. And he tells her that maybe it's for a moment just like this that you are in the place that you are. And I think about that all the time because my story, I had no idea would be here. I started out loving music and theater, and I was a theater kid. And my cantor wrote me in and started teaching me Jewish music. And fortunately, my synagogue was a place that had a lot of Israeli music and Jewish music, and it was vibrant, and we had artists in residence, and it was just phenomenal, and I fell in love with it. But I didn't think I wanted to be a rabbi or cantor. I didn't really know what this was going to be. And I knew somewhere in the bottom of my soul that I had this deep connection with Israel, but I had not been there. So I did a play when I was in 10th grade. And the play that I auditioned and got into was a play all about Israel. Who knew? And learning through that experience, I was inspired to go on the program that no longer exists, Los Angeles Ulpan. And it changed my life. And I sat around with a whole bunch of kids singing Jewish music and exploring the land and the people. And it was amazing. And then it was a long time before I made my way back. I didn't make my way back there until I was in cantorial school. I had this relationship with Israel from the diaspora, and I thought that that was enough. And I went to cantorial school, and I lived in Jerusalem, and had a different perspective on what it meant to be a part of this nation and this people. But then I'm going to tell you something that I'm maybe a little ashamed of, but there's a reason for so many things in my life. It took me 26 years to go back. 26 years of fighting from here. 26 years of being involved with Stand With Us, of being involved with Israel advocacy, but thinking that my feet belonged on this ground. And this January, I went back. I was asked, it changed my life again. And this January, I was asked to be a rabbinic mentor on a special trip and got to see the land again with fresh eyes, devastation and beauty all wrapped up in one. What's the point? The point is every step of my life, there's been some connection to Israel, but it has evolved, it has changed. And I know that for all of you, there are going to be things that evolve and change over the course of your life. Let those things in. Have all the experiences that you can. Prepare yourself, and the opportunity will come. And then you will be standing somewhere and you will know that it was just for this moment that you were brought to do the thing that you are doing.
Thank you. So I think the point of this panel for you, for your heart, is that find yourself somebody, a rabbi, a priest, somebody who is pro-Israel, just like you, and that can mentor you, and that you can have conversations with. And that's really what we wanted to drive home. Sometimes you think like, oh, I don't want to talk to the rabbi, I don't want to talk. They're like up there, and I don't want, No, they want to talk to you. They really do, and develop that relationship, because you never know in your life when you're going to need it, and it's worth your time and your energy. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.